Do you like polished aluminum? Do you like acrylic panels? What about VU meters? If you like the three of those, you may like this Power Acoustik 1 ohm 2400-2 amplifier. This was graciously given to me a few years ago from Brad over at Legends of Car Audio, and it's really just been sitting on the shelf. Decided to go ahead and pull it off the shelf though so we can take a closer look. The 1 ohm 2400-2 model, high current, 1 ohm stable it says. Let's pull out the 1998 Car Audio and Electronics from April 1998. And under Power Acoustik at the very top, we see it. Here it is, the 1 ohm 2400. It says $950 in 1998. That is $1,840, inflation adjusted in 2024. Now these MSRPs may be inflated some. If you guys know, let me know. Here are the features of the amp. Yes, 1 ohm stable, VU meters, plexi top, polished aluminum, 6-way protection, all kind of goodies. As for ratings, 200 by 2 at 4 ohms, 400 by 2 at 2 ohms, 800 by 2 at 1 ohm, 1600 watts bridged at 2 ohms, 1, 2, 3 channel possible, signal noise ratio at 105 dB. And yeah, here's an ad from a 1999 Car Audio and Electronics, and yeah, it looks good. The amp does too. Kind of large in statute, 26 inches long by 10 inches wide by 2.7 inches high. We are missing that end panel that covers up as you saw in the ad. But yeah, this joker is big and it is beautiful. You can see the polished heatsink, shiny with bling. Also see that acrylic panel there in the middle so you can see them guts. And then of course you can't forget the dual VU meters swinging to the beat. Can you feel the heat coming out your seat? Watch them things swing like a chicken wing.
Step up! This is not a Mickey Mouse program!
Back to the lecture at hand. Here we can see on the front of the amplifier we have all the connections, we have fuses, we have RCA inputs, some adjustments. Let's take a look here. Starting on the left side, you see two 25 amp fuses. Those are ATC style. We also have the power, remote, and ground connections there via screw terminals. As we move over a little bit, we have the speaker connections for the left terminal. We have ground, left, and mono. Yeah, that's weird. We'll come back to that. Bass frequency, bass boost. We have low input for RCAs, line out for RCAs, a gain control, also a high level input if you want to use speaker level connections. As we move down the amp, you'll see we have the same kind of connections here, kind of mirrored on the opposite side. We have for the right speaker, we have the mono plus, the right and the ground connection, and then we have ground, remote, and B plus there for the screw down connections for the power, and also two more 25 amp fuses. Now let's get this amp fired up and wired up so we can hook it up to the amp dyno to check out the power output on the left, the ohm load in the middle, the voltage of the dyno on the right. We'll also have a clamp so that we can estimate this amplifier's efficiency.
You know how them sound waves go?
We'll start off with the 2-channel test, have the amp wired up stereo to the amp dyno. It is rated 200 watts by 2 at 4 ohms. Doesn't give a voltage, but we'll say 14.4. Certified test takes us up to 1% distortion. We are using a 1 kilohertz track. And yeah, 134 and 124, so well shy of that 200 by 2 that they rate it. Now let's switch over to the dynamic track, which sends a pulse tone of 1 kilohertz into the amplifier. And the wattage output is virtually the same as the certified test, 135, 127, 14.36. Now let's set it for 2 ohms. It's rated 400 by 2. Again, 1 kilohertz test, certified up to 1% distortion. As you can probably guess, we're not getting anywhere near 400 watts by 2. 251 and 233, 14.24. Once again, we'll do the dynamic test, and again, not a whole lot of dynamic power built into the amp. 256 and 242 at 14.28. Now this amp is stated to be 1 ohm stable, so we're going to try 1 ohm stereo here, rated 800 watts by 2 at 14.4. Let's try it certified first. If we can get half that, I would be impressed. And we almost get half. 397, 363 at 14.1. Now we'll try the dynamic test. And once again, not getting much more dynamically, if hardly anything. 424, 399, so a little bit over 800 watts dynamically at 1 ohm. Now before we get to the bridge mono test, let's go ahead and hook it up to the ELAC bookshelf speakers and see how the amp sounds with some music from the YouTube audio library. Next up, let's move on to the bridge mono test. And out of the more than 800 amps I've ever tested, never seen one with different connections for the bridging mono stereo amp. But anyway, we got it all hooked up. 4 ohms mono rated 800 watts at 14.4 volts. Let's try certified at 40 hertz. See what we get. Can we get at least half? Not quite. 351 at 14.3. Now let's reset the dyno here for the uncertified track. See if we can get that 400 watts or more, which would be half the rated power. And again, 40 hertz track, not quite there, but we're so close. 392, 14.28. We'll reset the dyno here one more time for the dynamic track. And yeah, we do get that over 400 watts. 432, 445. There you go. I think that's going to be the top there, 445 at 14.28. Now, this is a 1 ohm stable amp, which means it is 2 ohm stable bridged. 1600 watts. I don't think so, but let's find out what we can get certified here at 40 hertz, 2 ohms mono, 507 at 14.36. Not so great. Let's retry it here uncertified up to the clipping point. I still don't think we're going to get that 800 watts, but oh, we're getting over 700, 704, 14.14. And finally, we will reset the dyno here for the dynamic track. Can we beat that 800 watts dynamically? Apparently not. We're not even getting as much as we got uncertified. 698, 14.28. Here are all the results. Pretty much just showed those, but we did add the efficiencies there on the right. You can see mid 50s. This is a Class AB old school amp, so it's not going to have great efficiency. And here are the bridge mono test. Efficiency even worse at 40 hertz. But yeah, you're not expecting great efficiency with a Class AB amp. All right, we have the JL10W7 hooked up to the Power Acoustik 2400-2 1 ohm series. Let's try a little flex. What you say? Overall, I was pretty impressed with the subwoofer performance, but I did note that the crossover didn't seem to be working at all because it was not taking out many of the highs. Let's take off one end of the amp here and we'll pull off this acrylic panel so we can take a closer look at the beautiful internals of this Power Acoustik 1 ohm amplifier. There you can see some capacitors. There's a transformer. What you will notice is this amp is kind of like a dual amplifier. It's like 2 amplifiers in one, pretty much mirrored across one side and the other. Here for the power supply, we'll look at the capacitors. These are 25 volt 1000 microfarad. There are 8 on the power supply side, and we get to the rails for each. There are 12 of these 50 volt 1000 microfarad capacitors. And again, that's for each channel, so times 2 that for the entire amplifier. Now let's move on to the pros and cons of things I like, things I think could be better. First off, the good stuff, the looks, and the acrylic, and the VU meters. I mean, hey, you can't go wrong with that. I keep telling people they need to do this on amps today, but they don't listen to me. RCA inputs and outputs. It is Class AB for sound quality. It is rare and unique. Not really rare, but it is kind of unique because you don't really see these anymore. As for things that could be better, it is overrated by quite a bit. The crossover did not seem to work. It didn't seem to cut out the vocals and highs there on the subwoofer. It is big and heavy. It has screw down terminals, so you have to use spade style or fork style connectors. It is odd with the bridging because it has a separate connection for each channel to bridge the amp. But overall, hey, it still works. It's 25 years old. It has VU meters. Who can complain? I'm not complaining. You guys get to see it. It actually worked. It survived all the tests. And even though it did not perform up to its ratings, that's not unexpected for these old school power acoustics. They just kind of overrated them. But this video ain't overrated, so make sure you smash the thumbs up and subscribe if you like this content. Till next time, this is Big D. I'm out of here. Let's try this Power Acoustik 2-ohm bridged at 1 kilohertz. Probably will do closer to that almost 800 watts, but let's see. $773.
4 G's on the system, any less a crime. The trunk breaks open when I flex the vibe. A windshield crack and expect surprise, but it's worth every penny, all cents aside. What sets aside? Me from you is the check sign. Better check the signs, put some checks aside. We've got sundown and MDX inside. 140 dB club, feel blessed for mine. 150 is the goal, I confess my crime. As long as I'm breathing, I'ma stretch the ride. King Kong in a trunk, mean drop with a bump. D-Wiz verified the L. Bump that shit too hard. Got big D-Wiz in the trunk. Bump that shit too hard. Got big D.